Welcome everyone to our second season of Kitchen and Culture. It's a cooking journey like no other where we're going to be fighting racism one recipe at a time. Today we're going to be traveling some 7,600 kilometers all the way to Japan. So it's going to be very exciting, delicious food, very creative and very artistic as well. So before I introduce you to our guest chef, I would like to thank our community partners, starting with the Kulea Culture team. Thanks to them, to their creativity, to this initiative, we're here together today. We'd also like to thank Heritage Canada, Van City, Shaw Spotlight. Thank you very much, you guys, for being here with us. And the Victoria Market Kitchen. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce myself, Jimena Londoño, your host for today. I'm from Colombia. And our guest chef, Misako from Japan. Hello, Misako.
Hi, nice to meet you, everyone. I'm from Japan. I came to Canada 5 years ago. And today I'm very excited to introduce you to traditional Japanese breakfast.
Lovely. So, quick question. What's the name of this breakfast in Japanese? The original name?
Asagohan.
Okay. Does it have a meaning or?
It's just morning breakfast.
Morning breakfast. Yeah. Okay. And this is a traditional breakfast in Japan.
So you may be surprised that Japanese breakfast is actually a complete set meal rather than like smoothie or like granola, or like it's actually rice and soup and a few side dishes. So today we are making together miso soup,
lovely,
rice balls,
okay,
Japanese rolled egg,
okay,
and one vegetable side dish.
Okay, so there's three little preparations, three little sort of dishes.
Four dishes.
4 dishes. Okay, lovely. Okay, well, let's get cracking. Where do we start?
So first, because it's gonna take a little while, we wanna start with miso soup.
Okay.
So we already put water inside, but just follow the recipe that you have at hand. And then today we are making for 6 people, but just adjust the amount of water that you put in the pot. So first, let's turn on the gas.
Okay, so first we want to get the water boiling.
So just water boiling, but we are actually making dashi, or Japanese stock. Have you ever heard of dashi?
I haven't.
So I think dashi is actually becoming an English common language. So some people who are like foodie or love cooking, maybe they might have heard of dashi. So dashi is basically broth or stock in English. And
okay,
miso soup, maybe not everyone knows about it, but miso soup is not just miso and hot water. It has to have broth to enhance the flavor. So today we are adding this very convenient dashi powder, which is mix of kombu, kelp, bonito flakes, and sardines. So usually Japanese dashi has some fish elements and seaweed.
Oh, okay.
So just put this in here.
So obviously you get all these ingredients from a store that is
so you can
specialized
get this from,
in Japanese cuisine.
Yes. So this dashi powder you can get from a Japanese grocery store, Fujiya or Sakura in Victoria, or if you are out of Victoria, if you go to Japanese grocery store, there's a best bet that you can get this kind of dashi powder.
Okay.
Yeah. So for now, just let it heat up. And when it's heat up, we will put all the vegetables and tofu to get it going. And we will also save some dashi stock for one more dish.
Perfect. And as we talked about it, you also put the miso paste at the very, very end, right?
That's
of
correct.
the cooking.
Yeah, so that's another point that I want to point out maybe later when I do
Perfect.
it. So right now, let's move on to cutting and chopping.
Perfect.
So himena, here I have a vegetable brush, and I personally like to include the vegetable skins and those outside part whenever possible because it's edible, and oftentimes, especially vegetables, have the most nutrient between the flesh and the skin. So why waste it when you can eat it? So I like to use the brush and then just nicely clean it. And if you see some dirt, you can of course use the knife and cut it. But otherwise, today we are using the carrot skin and the kabocha squash skin. But for daikon radish, we are going to peel it, just because it has some dirt spots. Yeah. And Japanese miso soup, what's good about it is it's very flexible. So today we are using very common ingredients for the miso soup, but you can basically use any vegetables, tofu, mushrooms that you have at home. So it doesn't need to be particular ingredients.
So what inspired you to choose this meal to cook for us today?
Why?
What inspired you to choose
what
this?
inspired me? So Japanese breakfast is something that reminds me of my my mom who cooked miso soup, fish and rice every morning. And back then, of course, I didn't know, I thought it was I took it for granted because that's what moms do. That's what I thought. But then when I left home and then when I had to cook for myself, that's when it really hit me hard. Like, man, this takes so much time. Japanese breakfast, it's really healthy and good, but it takes time to prepare. So this is kind of my gratitude for my mom, and I wanted to choose breakfast.
So usually was your mom cooking back home?
Yes, my mom is the main cook. My dad, after he retired, he kind of learned how to make rice and other things. But when he was working, it was mostly my mom who did all the cooking. So other ingredients that you can put is yam, sweet potato, or even regular potato, lots of vegetables, mushrooms. So just play with what you have at your own kitchen.
Yeah, you can basically go through your fridge and just pick whatever you have and
exactly.
put it in the soup. Okay, I got the onions and cut. Okay, so we're putting aside 2 tablespoons of broth so we can use it.
We are using the broth
dish.
for miso sesame sauce for the other dish. So
Perfect.
And then because it's boiling, you can start putting onions and kabocha squash. We will start with healthy vegetables because it takes longer to cook. And other vegetables like tofu and green onions, we will wait until later.
Until the end.
Yeah, so you can put this one first and then kabocha squash. And we also need to cut carrots too. So while we are doing this, let's do Japanese rolled egg.
Okay.
So it's called tamagoyaki.
Tamagoyaki.
Tamago is egg in Japanese,
Okay.
and yaki is fry. So it's basically just rolled egg. We are making twice, so I will do the first one, and the second one you can do.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
So tell us about the skillet that you're using.
So this one is actually called tamagoyaki pan.
Okay, so it's specific.
It's specific.
For-
The size is meant for the specific size, but if I mean, I don't think, non-Japanese people have this kind of pan at home. So in that case, you can just use like this kind of regular pan. But today, because I have it, I just gonna use this one. For one rolled egg, we are using 3 eggs.
3 eggs.
Yeah, so just crack 3 eggs.
So meanwhile, we have just the miso soup is just boiling with all the veggies.
It looks great. We are using 2 seasonings. So we are using soy sauce and we are using mirin, which is Japanese rice wine. It gives some sweet flavor. So today we are making very simple tamagoyaki, but you can play with adding sesame seeds, adding green onions, adding cheese. It doesn't need to be this simple, but when you first learn something, start with simple is always a good idea. So. And for one trick of doing this tamagoyaki successful is you need to use fair amount of oil, so that because egg is tricky, egg can stick to the pan very easily because of the difference of the temperature between the eggs and the pan. So adding more oil than usual usually helps.
Okay.
So just mix until it's nice and well incorporated. Then let's put this back. We are using avocado oil. Avocado oil is nice because it has high smoke point. And high smoke point is oil doesn't burn until quite high temperature compared to sesame oil or other kinds of oil. So when you need to do high heating cooking, I recommend this kind of a high smoke point oil.
Got it.
So you wait until you kind of start seeing some smoke. And you can also test with dropping some egg. So this tells me that it's ready.
Okay.
So you don't pour the egg mixture all at once. Instead, you will pour 3 times. So this is the first round. So just nicely, cover all the area. And because this is already, well heated, it's already cooking nicely. Rice is ready.
Perfect.
It doesn't need to cook thoroughly in the middle, but it's ready when the edges are all cooked.
Okay.
So, as tamagoyaki suggests, it's rolling. So we will roll from this side to this side. Like, 3-4 times. Then you have to kind of flip it. All right. Then put it back to the other side.
Okay. Push it to the back.
Push to the back because you have to do this 2 more times. So pour half of the mixture. And then what's important is, move the egg mixture underneath already rolled egg.
Okay.
And wait. So if you want to mix something more to the rolled egg, you can add to the second rolling and third rolling, like sesame seeds here or cheese if you want, like melty cheese tamagoyaki.
Okay. So again, as soon as the egg kind of sets at the bottom, You roll it back again.
Yes. So
Push it to the
this
back.
is
Start
ready
again.
because the edges are cooked. So do this one more time, and it's nicely brown.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's difficult to flip it, but you just move and wiggle around and move it back, push back to the end.
Wow. Okay.
And the last one. So yeah, Himena, you can start breaking your 3 eggs here.
It's gonna be my turn to do one.
You will do great. I know you will. Yeah, tamagoyaki is one of my favorite breakfast dishes because it's quite filling, but it's very nice, fluffy. I like eggs.
So, are there other breakfast options in Japan other than this one, this traditional one?
So the very traditional one also has like fermented soybeans called natto. It's very stinky. It has lots of strong smell. So even if you're Japanese, some people don't love it because it's just very stinky, but it's very healthy because it's fermented. So that's usually one common dishes that you'd have. Otherwise, you will have salmon fillet, like just baked salmon fillet. Ooh, golden.
Nice.
So this is wrong.
Oh wow.
So it's done, just like this.
Looks beautiful.
Done. So inside might be a little bit undercooked or like a medium. Let's say medium. So depending on how you want your eggs, you can stop here or you can cook until it's thoroughly cooked. I kind of like medium, like like how it looks now. So this is it for me, for my turn.
Okay.
So yeah, this one really heats up so quickly. You have to be careful.
Okay. So let's
Just cooling it down. Yeah, you can put the water. Oh, sorry, oil.
Okay. This seems like enough oil, right?
Yeah, it's enough. And then yeah, just pour the first one third of the mixture.
Let's see. Yep, it's ready.
It's
Go.
ready. So while you are doing it, I will start another dish. So this inside, it's just water. We are going to use this pan with water to kind of quickly, cook the vegetables, spinach and carrots. So we are not actually boiling, but just simmering very quickly, like 30 seconds to 1 minute. So we are going to start this water. So for the next dish we are making, it's called goma ae. Goma is sesame, and ae is dressing. So this is basically carrots and spinach, very lightly cooked, dressed with miso sesame sauce.
So this is like a side salad
Yes, exactly.
we're making.
So yeah, in Japanese typical breakfast, the main food is usually fish, and then we have 1 or 2 vegetable side dishes and rice and miso soup. So it's very complete meal, and it will give you enough energy to get through a long day.
Okay, I'm heading to the second layer.
They're looking good. Yeah, that's actually a lot of oil, but yeah, as long as it works. And for this vegetable, same as miso soup, it doesn't need to be carrots or spinach. It can be sweet potato. It can be other greens like Swiss chard beets green. Any greens will nicely do. But this dish is not really meant for the raw vegetables. So you want to cook lightly with boiling water and then mix with dressing. Today we are only using miso sesame sauce because it's very simple and easy and it's versatile. Can be mixed with any other things. But if you also like as a vegetarian dish idea, what you can do is you can also use mashed tofu, kind of like making it dressing. So you add mashed soft tofu, sesame seeds, soy sauce, and that will give you more hearty dressing. And it's really pairs well with spinach and other greens too.
So meanwhile,
Oh yes,
Yeah.
if you're good, can you? This is already washed, so can you kind of chop the edges?
oh, okay.
No, I think it's actually good. You can just dump in here.
Oh, okay.
It's already washed, so.
Should I dump all of it at the same
But
time?
that one is actually after the carrots.
Oh, after the
After the carrots. So these carrots go first, and you only need to cook for 1 minute. So you don't want carrots to be too mushy or too soft. You still want some nice texture. So that's why you only need to, blanch it only for 1 minute in here, right? So in here, we have dashi stock that we saved for making miso soup.
Correct.
And then now we will add a few things into here.
Okay. So we have
So we
Maple
have dashi and we have miso. This can be any kind of miso, but I recommend white miso because white miso has lighter flavor and it's not going to overpower. So white miso is nice, but today we are using one of my products. So this is ginger miso. And then we have maple syrup. This can be replaced with honey or other sweetener. And then soy sauce and sesame seeds. So you can put all the seasoning in here and mix.
perfect. Any particular order?
No. Just mix very well.
And this is the sauce for the salad. For
Yes. So this is for the carrots and spinach salad.
How many types of miso do you have?
Lots. Like my fridge is just full of lots of condiments that I make. So sometimes it's really difficult to reach in the back of the fridge because there's so many miso right now. I don't
But
want to say I
miso-
made it too much, but I think I have too much miso right now. All different kinds. Anyway, the carrots are ready. And we want to reuse the same water, so just taking the carrots only out from the water. Maybe it might not fit everything together, so you can do twice. But
Okay.
let's see how it fits.
Half and half.
Yeah, half and half.
Okay.
Now, I will add the last ingredients for the miso soup. So I will add tofu. And green onions, you can wait until you put miso at the end. So So after we are done with this dish, we have one more dish to complete.
Okay.
So now we are going to make the rice dish, rice ball, or we call it onigiri. And today, because we didn't have enough time to make all the rice balls, so we prepared almost like most of the rice balls at home, but we are making one each of the different fillings together. So today, for the fillings, we have salmon flakes with miso and braised shiitake mushrooms. And at home, there's a few ways you can make rice balls, and especially if you are making it for yourself or for your family, and you don't need to worry about using your bare hands, then the easiest way to do rice ball is have some kind of a clean wet towel, or have a bowl with water so that you can put your hands in there, because rice is very sticky in nature. So you have to have some kind of wet towel or water to prevent your hands from sticking to the rice. But today, because I'm making for people, so instead of using my bare hands, I'm gonna use cling wrap. And even though when rice is freshly cooked, of course it's very hot, but I find that when rice is still hot, it's easier actually to make rice balls, because it doesn't stick as much as it does when it's cold. So this rice is already kind of cold, so it might be a little bit tricky, but when you make it at home, I recommend that you have to still wait a little bit until you can touch the rice, but it's still warm. So now let's grab one rice bowl, and this is already seasoned with salt. And adding salt is very important, because rice balls traditionally are food that you will bring to a picnic or bring to somewhere, so you don't necessarily eat it right away at home. So salt will prevent rice balls from going bad or rotted, and also having salt kind of gives you a nice flavor even when it's cold. So this is already mixed with the salt. And then, because we have to put the fillings inside, we have to make space. So we will kind of make a hole in the rice. And again, because today I had to bring rice from home, I'm doing this way. But if you are making at home and you have a freshly cooked rice in the rice cooker or instant pot in the pot, you can also put half amount of the rice balls, and then put the filling and cover with the rest of the rice. But here there's a whole amount of the rice, and that's why I have to kind of push it down and make a hole inside.
Okay, so we're doing two fillings: the shiitake mushroom,
shiitake mushroom and salmon.
The salmon.
If you are a big fan of rice balls and you have eaten rice balls before, you notice that there's so many fillings that are available. Then you have to make the shape back to the round shape again, like how we started first. And then in this time, you kind of want to press the fillings inside. And again, this is not how I would usually make. I wouldn't make the rice bowl into this shape first. I will put half of the rice in the bowl and then put the filling and cover with half of the rice, and it's easier. Today, this is kind of a irregular way to do it, but it's the way that we could do, at the community kitchen. So once your rice bowl is round, you will press it, and then even though it's called rice bowl, it's actually not a bowl as you would see. So rice bowl is usually triangle shape. So you make the triangle shape using your hands, and there's actually a rice bowl mold. And for my business, we also sell rice bowls, and we have the rice bowl mold. So you can make rice bowls, like 5 rice bowls at once, and it's quite nicely shaped. But not everyone has the mold. So using hands will just do fine. So, you make this kind of a rooftop shape with your hands, and then apply to 3 edges like this, until you think your shape looks nice. And if you don't have time and busy, actually you don't need to make into triangle. You can just eat as the round shape. But when we say onigiri or rice bowl, it's triangle.
Okay.
And then we cannot forget about norishi wheel. So this is one whole sheet. You don't need to use one whole sheet for one rice bowl because it's big. So you can either use half of the sheet or 1/4. And usually rice bowl is covered with norishi with the entire rice bowl is covered, but I'm gonna just use 1/4 of one sheet, and then let half of the rice visible. Okay. So here your rice bowl, and then you just put 1/4 of nori. And because rice is still sticky, so it sticks naturally. Okay.
So the type of rice that we use for doing these
it's a good question because it has to be sticky type. So basmati rice or other kind of rice wouldn't work for rice bowls. Instead, you have to use short grain sushi rice or sticky rice. One last thing that we have to do is we haven't put miso yet.
Correct.
So here there's broth and vegetables cooked in broth. So at this time, we will finally put green onions because they don't really need to be cooked. So you can just add at the very end. And here is my homemade miso. But again, for miso soup, it doesn't need to be. So this is a classic miso. So it's soybeans and rice-based miso. But whatever miso you have at home, you can use it for making miso soup. But whenever you make miso soup, so there's 2 important things. The first thing is we use dashi. That's very important. The broth.
The broth, yes.
So it's not only hot water, but you do need to have some kind of stock. So whether it's vegetarian stock, fish stock, mushroom, dashi is always in the miso soup.
Okay.
And the second important thing is you don't cook miso in the soup or from the beginning. So if you notice, the heat or gas is already turned off because the soup is ready. And this is when you want to add miso, because miso has a very nice aroma. And this aroma will evaporate if you cook miso in the high heat for a long time, and you don't want it. So you only add miso when the soup is ready and before you serve. So there's two ways to add miso. One is, so because the gas is already turned off, you can put miso in the ladle, and just dissolve with broth. So this is one way to add miso into your miso soup. And another way is you can actually put miso directly into the serving bowl, and then you pour soup into the bowl and dissolve inside. So either way is fine, but just don't cook miso with heat. Yeah.
Got it.
That way you can preserve the very nice aroma coming from miso, and you can enjoy the most nutritious benefits.
That's a very important information, because I think most people would put it at the very beginning when the water starts boiling.
Yes, because even though to me it makes a lot of sense that we add at the very end, but I also learned like fairly late. Like I only learned when I came to Canada when to add miso. I didn't know, but I learned eventually, and then it was like an aha moment to me, because like, okay, that makes sense, because miso, what's good about miso is not only healthy and nutritious, but it's smell and very inviting aroma. So if you want to keep that aroma, then yeah, this is a way to make miso soup. So while we talk, it's done.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Does smell really good. So what the miso base that you just used, what sort of ingredients has?
So the miso that we use for this one is it's a classic miso. So classic miso, what I mean by that is soybeans, rice, koji, and salt. Only 3 simple ingredients. But miso, there's so many miso varieties. So sometimes it's made with barley. Sometimes it's made with only soybeans. Sometimes it has very uncommon ingredients like butternut squash miso, other kind of miso.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But classic miso is always a good start.
So with this, we kind of have our breakfast
Yes, we
ready.
have the breakfast ready. So
Lovely.
should we plate?
Yes.
For
Okay, let's do the
plate.
setup.
I don't know where is.
It's almost like a piece of art.
Yeah, this is like a kind of a very nice tray, to fit everything together. So again, we made 4 dishes together for a typical Japanese breakfast. So we have miso soup with lots of vegetables, and rice balls with 2 different fillings. This is carrots and spinach with miso sesame sauce, and Japanese tamagoyaki, rolled egg.
Okay, so welcome back again. And now we're going to be exploring a little bit more of Misako's immigration stories. But before we go any further, a quick question. Is this like a regular everyday breakfast, or is this a weekend sort of special?
No, this is actually a very regular weekday breakfast. And that's why I said earlier that it takes time, right?
A lot of time.
So I appreciate all the moms out there, who prepare this kind of Japanese breakfast to their kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the display.
Mm-hmm.
The items that we have on the table.
Display, yes. So this one is Japanese doll, and it's beautifully, represents Japanese culture, and this one is called kimono, and I'm kind of wearing the casual version of it today. So this is traditional wear that people wear for special ceremonies, weddings, graduation parties, something like that. And my actually friend made this doll, so I cherish it, and then I brought it from Japan. So that's that. And those, I think a lot of people have heard origami.
Yes.
So, and cranes are one of the most popular things to make with origami. And it actually means peace. So making cranes is actually a ceremony that people can do to contribute to the praise, like when the earthquake happens, for example, and there's so many victims and people suffering. This is the things that people like to do is make lots of cranes with origami and send it to the place. But origami is just fun activities if you have friends and small kids that want to do their art.
That's very traditional from Japan, right?
Origami is very traditional, so you can make all kinds of shapes. But crane happen to be one of the very common one that people make. But you can make frogs, you can make carp, you can make lots of animals, the cats.
Okay.
And those two here is, so in Japanese characters it says Geishun, and it means welcome spring. So those two are typical displays that we put out on the door or at the entrance at New Year's.
Oh, okay.
So people usually hang this kind of thing for the New Year for about 1 month, and this is simply represents the good luck for the new year that we are welcoming, and also it kind of works as a charm to prevent the evil spirit from coming inside the house too.
Okay.
So this is a very New Year's thing. So it's kind of late, but I just wanted to show.
So, when is the New Year's in Japan?
So in Japan, we actually don't do a Lunar New Year's like in February. So Japanese New Year is according to the Western calendar. So it's basically January 1st. But in Japan, instead of celebrating Christmas, we celebrate the New Year with family. So it's a very big thing. We all family members get together from across the country, and then they have special feasts, like lots of food. So it actually not only for the January 1st, but it kind of lasts for a week of festivals.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of food for sure. Yeah.
Other than the New Year's, what other festivities do you celebrate in Japan? Main ones.
There's so many, not necessarily festivals, but there's so many customs that we follow. And almost every month has different topics and themes to celebrate. For example, March 3rd today is a Girls' Day in Japan. So
Girls' Day?
Girls' Day. So parents who have a daughter or who have female siblings, it's for them. So we celebrate having special meals like mochi cake and soup with clam shells and chirashi sushi with lots of toppings. And it's just to wish for good upbringing and wellness for the girls. so that they grow into a very nice adulthood.
Oh.
Yeah. So we display lots of dolls, different character dolls in like a few layers. It's massive. It's a thing. So that's one example. But and there's also of course Boys' Day. To be fair, so Girls' Day in March, Boys' Day in May, and a few other things like a lunar celebration with rice cake, dango.
Okay. Oh.
To appreciate the beauty of the nature and the moon. That's usually in September.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of things.
So tell us, how did you arrive to Canada? How
So
was the process?
it was quite straightforward to me, in a way that I didn't choose Canada. And what I mean by that is so 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I was working at an office. I was doing an office job. But in my heart, I always knew that I'm not going to stay in this office job for the rest of my career. I always knew. I just didn't know when to quit the job. But then this lingering thought was always, bothering me, because so when should I do it? And at the same time, I always knew I wanted to do something food related, because my office job was like I was working for a university as an officer, as an administration officer. So it has nothing to do with food. But me being a big foodie and love cooking and love eating, of course, I was like, I want to do something that really makes me happy. So that was 6 years ago, and then I just had to, kick my butt, like this is the time. So I started looking for schools to learn about nutrition, because I wanted to be not only cooking, but I wanted to give back something to the community and to the people with what I really care about, which was food with nutrition. So I of course started looking for schools in Japan, because I wasn't really looking for going abroad in the very beginning. So I was looking for Chinese medicine schools and Indian medicine, Ayurveda school, and there were a few options in Tokyo and Osaka, like those big cities. But then I was in Kyoto, so to attend either school, I had to leave Kyoto. And then I started thinking, because Shinkansen, or like a bullet train in Japan, it's very expensive. So if I'm going to school every weekend to Tokyo or Osaka, it's gonna end up spending lots of money. And then suddenly something inside me said, then like I don't need to narrow my options to inside the country if I'm going to be spending lots of money paying Shinkansen to travel back and forth. And I was back then it was very natural, but when I told my idea to my friends and family, they all thought like I'm crazy, because I have this very stable well income job that will pay me good money for the rest of my life if I stay with that organization. But I was like, I am an ear of pig, and I believe that when I know that this is the right path, I will just move forward, proceed, before I actually give a second thought. It was always like that. So my mother, by that time, wasn't too surprised. To her, she was like, again, because I have done this kind of, decisions. I always make my decision and then tell her. I never, consult before I decide. So she was like, again. So I started looking, outside of Japan. I didn't choose a country. I was looking for schools that I can, study Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, and nutrition overall. And then this one school came up, and that was in Victoria here. And then my mind said, Canada seems like a good place to, move and live for a few years. And my mom or my family was also happy that, because like Canada has a reputation of being a safe country. So that was a good point for my parents. And it was also good for me because I lived in the States for 1 year when I was a student. So I was kind of familiar with the Western, culture and what it would look like to live abroad again. So that was very first. It happened. All those decisions and searching for school happened within like 2-3 months, and then taking my holiday in that year, I actually came here, went to the school that I was going to apply, and then just wanted to, feel like firsthand if this school will serve me well. And then I really liked it. So I was, even though my school I went to is college, it's very small, but I liked it because it was small and good community and good vibes I felt. So I was like, okay, it looks like good, so I'm going to apply. So I went back and I told my parents that, oh, by the way, I applied for this school. I'm going to quit my job, And yeah, so 5 years, fast forward, I'm here because I wanted to study.
So let's talk a little bit more about when you arrived to Canada. Did you have any expectations? Did you have any challenges that you had to overcome? How did you overcome them?
Yes, I actually... So I mentioned earlier that I lived in the States for 10 months, like, just one exchange year as a student. So in my mind, and I think this is true for many people, many Japanese people, that to us, the States and Canada look similar in a way that they look like they have many things in common. And in a sense it is, but what I struggled was, and it might be true, especially for this Vancouver Island, I found it so hard to make friends with people from here. It was so easy for me to make good friends with people coming from outside of Canada. So I have very, very good friends from Mexico, from Korea, and from the States actually too. But for some reasons, to me, people from here looked, they already had an established community. They already had families and friends here. So they didn't necessarily need to, explore to make friends from, coming from outside of Canada. So I was like trying very hard in the first month. But then at the end of the day, I was like, friends have to be mutual. If it's only me pushing to become friends with someone who don't really care about me, it's not good. It's not healthy. So I was like, forget about it. I already have friends, even if they are not necessary from here, because I wanted to make friends from here too. But then later on, someone from the school who is also from Canada, he told me that he was also having difficulty making friends in Victoria, and he was from Vancouver, and he said there's something about people who live in Victoria that might take longer time to open up to people. And after I heard that from a Canadian person, it made it easier for me to understand. Like, okay, if he says that he's also had the same problem, then it's not my problem. It's just how it is. It's just nature. It's not like it's no one's fault. It's just like I accept it. So that was difficult in the first month.
Wow. Overall, are you happy to have made the decision to come? Do you think you will go back to Japan, or you would like to stay here?
I love Japan for food, for my family and friends. But for my career, I'm glad I made that decision 6 years ago. I'm happy I'm here doing what I'm really passionate about, and I met so many people doing this business, and they welcome us. So it's good now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Misako, for sharing your story with us.
Yeah.
For sharing
thank
this
you.
beautiful artistic meal with us. And thank you to you for following us again today. And thank you again to our community partners, to the Kulea Culture team, the board of directors, to Heritage Canada, to Van City, to Shaw Spotlight, and of course to the community kitchen here at the Victoria Market. And thank you very much, Misako.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
We hope to see you next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.